right? We should be able to get the stream to go live this time. This time? Can we do it? Yes. Okay, cool. Sorry guys, a little bit late. I was having like, I don't know if it's gonna appear in the chat, probably not for you guys. I was having like, it's like, it kept like connecting and disconnecting. It was super weird. Like, I would try to go live and it wouldn't even go live at all. So I refreshed everything, rebooted my PC, it should be good now. The things we do. Alright, so today, I'm going to be focusing on getting through, possibly doing some more inking. I'm going to have to do some re-sketching of some of these places, some of these panels, because I did make some like really super loose 3D models to kind of help guide me as I'm going through this process. Normally I wouldn't like resort to 3D models without like trying to ink things first, but because I have such a short time frame to get this done in, ooh, sorry, I just had dinner and I like inhaled it so fast. So hopefully we'll be able to. I just realized I didn't put out any like links saying that I'm live. Might help just a little bit. What you guys think? So while I'm doing that, take a peek at what we'll be starting with. We've got this upper panel that we'll be starting in today. This I can narrow a bit. I'm gonna be starting in these two upper panels today. They're pretty much ready to ink, which is great. I love it when I have something that's ready to ink and I don't have to work super hard on it. Just like a lot of little stuff. So, gotta share some links really quick. I just realized I didn't share them everywhere. Because it kept refreshing, like the link changed, so I had to grab a new link. So, pardon me, I am very sorry. Had to get new links for all my posts really quick. YouTubers streaming. Okay, cool. Alright. So, our first one here is going to be pretty easy. I've got a brush that'll get me started. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this dragonfly brush. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to get like a rough idea of what I want it to look like. This might be easier to start in color. Let's see. There we go. And then let's lower the opacity of this group of layers instead. Yeah, there we go. So we'll throw that in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to do a little bit of manipulation on this to make it like editable. Is that the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, that's right. With this, I was going to leave it outside of the panel a little bit. That way it'll kind of lead into the action that we've got. Let me see what a different one looks like, maybe. Nah, this one will work just fine. And so I'll throw this into monochrome. I'll adjust it. Cool. There we go. Alright, so that'll give me a really good start. And then I can go in and I can draw in like some more like wing details on my own. Which is what I'll do. I'm gonna go in and just add like a little bit more. So that way it doesn't look so empty, and that way we have like the really nice like thick to thin variation. The eyes a bit bigger. And then I can put in some like white line art as well to kind of help give it some define. And I think that's the secret to being able to use like brushes and stuff. is you never want to like just like throw it, like drop it in and then like leave it as is. You always want to try to like add more to it. That way, one, that makes it a bit more different, and just makes it look better, I think. Just me personally. So, alright. Oopsie. What am I doing? Alright, so I'm going with a white brush. Actually, it might be better to do like dots on this one. Alright, I'm gonna go in here, draw those lines out. And then I'll put a white, I'll do a white screen tone over that, that way we get that really nice texture. Or I'll just use lines. It's fine. Down there, throw that right there. Hello, hey leader, how are you doing? It's been a little while since I've seen ya. How are you? Hope things are going well over there. Dun 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 dun. Let's see. Miso, why do you always pick the worst times to ask for attention? Got Miso sitting here, my cat, and she's like, Mom, it's time for you to pet me now, right when you're in the middle of drawing. Silly girl. But pay attention to me. Yeah. That's cats for you. Miso! Fine, I'm not touching you then. I decided to pet her and she just, like, bit me. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of teeth, but she's got two front teeth still. Oh, you're at work? Okay, okay, okay. Working on pages. Same old, same old. Here is this page. Finally got that one done. And then I've got some, I've got this whole page is due tomorrow. R.I.P. So, trying to figure out how the heck I'm gonna manage that, but we'll find out. I'll pull out my inner mangaka and see if I can get it done. Shouldn't be that hard, right? Can't be that hard. I mean, I know it's that hard. I'm being facetious. Actually, I just realized I don't know what dragonfly wings actually look like. Let me actually bring up a reference real fast. Now that I think about it, I don't know what they actually look like. Oh wow, they're so teeny. Wow. Yeah, I was drawing them wrong. That's why you look up references, kids. Super cool looking. Alright, now I've got my reference up. Work on your comic. Oh, nice! Good luck! I hope that goes really well. It's always kind of scary, isn't it? Once, like, you finally get to that point. You're like, oh yeah, I'm ready, but I'm also terrified. You can do it. You'll do great. Dude, dragonfly wings is actually pretty easy. At least when you're not overly detailing them. and then I'll go over it with white to soften up some of the lines. Try to release 3 or 4 pages every week. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I just start with like a smaller, like easier schedule and build it up from there, and like have a big buffer made in advance. Smart. I had a buffer, and then like my buffer completely evaporated when I got really busy with NDA content, which is why I was away for a little while. I was working on like NDA stuff that I wasn't like allowed to stream or allowed to show. So. Three, 4 pages. That's a lot. That's a lot of pages, though. 3 to 4 pages. How fast can you make a page every week? Or how many? Let me rephrase that. How many pages a week can you make? Because you definitely don't want to like overwork yourself. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. That's usually what I am testing out right now, started this week. What I would recommend from someone who messed up once, in terms of buffer, is start out low. Like publish pages at a smaller amount first, and then if you want to ramp it up more. As much as you can, you want to try not to start publishing less pages, and the only reason I would suggest that is your viewers are more likely to be like they're gonna be okay, like happier if you publish more pages. Versus if you say, oh, I want to publish this, oh, JK, I can't handle that, I'm going to go down. Like, your true supporters are going to support you no matter what. However, it's better to start lower and under promise but over deliver. Does that make sense? You want to under promise, meaning like say, oh well, I could only do this, and then do that for a little while. See how you feel about that. Start with the lower amount first. If you want to try to make 3 to 4 pages, that's fine. But only post maybe 2 pages. Build that buffer. Build a large buffer first. That way you have something in case you get sick, or in case something happens to you, or in case you need to work some extra hours, or like maybe you have other stuff to do, or you get another project. Like, always start publishing at a smaller rate first, unless the only exception to that, I would say, is if you're going to have like a whole chapter done in advance and you want to post a whole chapter and then like wait until you have enough done to post another chapter. Like, that's another possible option. Which, like, as much as you can, you want to try not to cut back. Does that make sense? And that's more of a what they call optics, like how does it look if you have to roll it back, how much you're posting. You want to try to keep that as like positive as possible. You know what I mean? From a business perspective. If there's no thing business related, then you're fine. Just advice from someone who messed it up once. I messed it up once, and I had to roll it back, and it's pretty embarrassing, to be honest. But my fans were really kind about it. They were understanding. But yeah, like, that was the advice given to me to say, you probably should have done this. So, if you don't want to follow that, I don't care. You do whatever makes you feel most comfortable. It's your comic. So, just advice from an old fart. Alright, I'm going to put this in a folder. I'm going to duplicate it. Put it here. This way this dragonfly is already drawn. I just have to shrink it. Maybe... Alright, so, let's see, what do I want to do here? So, I'm going to alter where it draws. I'm going to expand the mask, actually. Because I want these 2 panels to have a connecting background. So I'm going to expand the mask that's on this folder. Well, it's not going to let me. I'll just draw this way. hate drawing eyes and eyebrows. It's like the hardest part for me. Alright, so I've got a previous drawing of him right here that I'm referencing. Oh, you guys probably can't see it. You can kind of see it over here on this in the corner. Hi, Keko this. Hello. How are you doing? Oops. I hate when it does that. Oh, I guess I probably should put in that bubble. That way I know where it goes. Let me put that bubble in really quick before I forget. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. He's talking out loud, but he's talking kind of softly. So let's do one of these. Kind of your plain old basic bubble. Nothing special. I don't even change them that much. I mean, like, change the thickness a little bit, but that's it. Good, good. I like it when people are doing good. Alright, now what is it supposed to say? Lettering! Okay. And I'll fix that later. Oh, should you? This isn't quite balanced. Let's see. If I take out the odd. Where else of the cocoa would go to? Let's see what that looks like. It's a bit more balanced. It's a little bit better. Oh, I just realized that that's not inside the... I hate when I do that. Oh, it was. I just moved it, I guess. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. I see. Yeah, I just miffed it up. I love lettering. Just kidding. I sort of. I sort of like lettering. Considering I'm sort of, kind of do it professionally now. I should enjoy it. My publisher sure liked what I did, and I'm like, I'm like, you want more bubbles? What? I gotta select it. I think it says 7. No, it's more than 7. Oh, I don't know what it's supposed to be. There. Oh, that'll do. Lettering is definitely tedious. Let's see. I was wondering if you have any tips on how you go about creating your own world and story. Oh my goodness. Oh man, that's like my favorite part. Are you kidding me? I got lots to say. Oh man, so creating your own world. Oh man, like where to even start with that? Well, I'll tell you where I started. And this doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Hang on, I'm gonna take my sweater off a sec. It's getting a little warm in here. It's all the excitement. It's all the excitement. Well, I've been working on this world, Godsbane, for 12 years, almost 13. And where I started with it initially was never going to end up being like a manga or a comic. So I ended up having to develop my characters first. I had Coco and Ak, which are like they're two characters. They were originally the main characters. And I had a professor ask me how these two characters knew each other. And so that was honestly kind of like where the whole thing started. So just to give it like a quick background of where it all started. And Coco he's a small flightless bird. And so for me, and this is where my answer may not necessarily be what you're looking for. For me, I wanted to be able to create a world that was semi-believable, but entirely plausible in the sense of, except for the fact that there's a lot of magic, it's theoretically plausible that this world could exist. It's like Earth-based fantasy, where I did a lot of research on an already existing place, which is primarily West Asia. So like mostly Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, like those kinds of the Philippines, like that region, like basically like Oceania and Indonesia is where this world, this island, if it were real, is where it would exist. And so what I was able to do is I did 12, I'm still doing research. I've done 12 years of research on this particular region of the world. Like I have so many books on these countries, like reading up on their lore, their mythology, their culture, their clothing, their history, their lore, their mythology. Like just so much research has gone into this. And what I've done is I've taken all of those things, and I've tried to make something that's completely independent but also related in such a way that because in history a lot of those countries have impacted each other. They all have really similar roots in terms of like they've kind of, all these cultures have evolved side by side and they've evolved together. And so I wanted something that has bits and pieces from all of those cultures, but done in such a way that it's believable and respectful based on when those things could have happened and how those things could have happened. The climate, also, like what type of animals live in that kind of world, what type of environment actually exists. I'll show you something really cool. I have a map of this world that I've created, and since you've asked this question, you'll probably find this really interesting. Let me grab it. So this is a map that I've created of this island, and you can see, looking up here, I've taken this whole island and I've split it apart into not just like where everything is, where each village is, where each shrine is, blah 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 blah, but I've also broken it down into the different types of biomes, which are what these are, like marshes, swamps, Everglades, tropical forests, like that kind of area. I've kind of broken it apart, and what this does for me is this tells me, okay, now that I know what type of world this is, like what the environment is, like what sort of people would live here, like how would these people have to live to be able to survive in this kind of environment and make it believable, while also being very similar to what already exists. Now, the island that these people live on is pretty remote compared to everybody else. But a lot of islanders, people of the Pacific, Indonesia, like a lot of those, they are isolated from each other. But there was so much travel at that time, or throughout various times in history, where they were able to navigate between these islands relatively easily, which is fascinating. One of the reasons why I became fascinated with it in the first place was hearing about that. But Coco is a small flightless bird, and specifically the type of small flightless bird that he was is really popular throughout the Indonesian islands, specifically around Java, Sumatra, Bali, Jakarta, like all of the sorts of areas. And so I was like, well, I definitely want this island to be something similar to that, would be within that region of the world. And so that's how I picked where it was going to be. And then from there, once I knew generally what type of environment it's going to be, since I'm wanting to make this based on reality, like where in the world would this place be? And then I had to pick a time. When do I want this to be? Do I want this to be like modern? Do I want this to be in the ancient past? Do I want it to be in the more recent past? Which is what I chose, 1891. And the reason why I chose 1891 is actually really stupid. There's two major eclipses that happen in my particular story, and it just so happens that there is one calendar year in all of history that didn't have a lot of electricity or access to modern things, that happened long enough ago that it's still relatively modern, but had two eclipses at the right time for when I need them to happen in my story, as far as distance apart and what time of the year. And so I picked 1891. That's why I picked it. It was like really close to Victorian times. Which is what I need. I needed it to be relatively close to Victorian times, but I needed it to be, like after the Civil, like around, after Civil War, definitely, like no earlier than that. Definitely as close to Victorian time as possible, with like some of the type of clothing and designs that I had in mind. So yeah, that's kind of how I went about it. It was kind of like a haphazard way. It was like really super chaotic. Yeah, so it was definitely very chaotic. My suggestion would be to like get a piece of paper or get a document. Yeah, there's been a lot of research. Get a paper, get a document, and write down all of the things that you want to include, and try to find a specific setting or a specific world or a specific time where all of those things sort of like naturally cross over, where they naturally overlap. And that might be the best setting for you to use, but you also have to decide how accurate do you want to be. I mean, I have magic in my story. That's not technically accurate. I also don't mention anything about the colonization that was happening in the world at the time, so I don't. I mean, I very lightly insinuate that there are people that know that that's happening, but that's not something I openly talk about. But that is what was happening at that time of the world, in that region of the world. And so it's vaguely mentioned or vaguely insinuated, but it's not something that actually happens, and it's not relevant to the story. That's why I don't really mention it. It's not relevant. One second, you guys. I have to do something. So yeah, I hope that was like helpful to you. Alright, 1 second, guys. This is work stuff. Give me 1 second, everybody. Sorry. Nice! Oh, that is so cool. That's so cool. Sorry. My boss. Sorry, it's my boss. What's up? Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Anyway, yeah, I hope that was helpful to you. Do you have any other questions, maybe? If it also applies to design characters, I would think so, most definitely, because characters aren't gonna wear the same type of clothing depending on like what type of environment they're in or like what type of like cultural aspects they have, because clothing and how people dress, how characters dress, how characters act, what sort of accessories they wear, all of that is incredibly like varied based on like what's their personality like, what are their personal preferences, what's like acceptable in their culture, not only what's acceptable in their culture, what's expected of them in their culture, or is like what sort of environment they live in. That's one reason why you can have a whole group of people living in the same country but have like a such wide variety of like just cold. I mean, look at the Native Americans. Like that, the U.S. is, I mean, it's a pretty large land space, but there's so much variation in it, and you could have two sets of two different tribal nations. I was like, what's the word for that? Tribal nations like living right next to each other, but be completely different. They could live in the same environment, basically be eating and living off of the same foods, but they'll have a completely different culture that's 100% unique to their own. They're going to have differences. They may have different societal expectations. They'll have different clothing. They'll have maybe different lore. Even if they're similar, they're going to be different. They're going to have, variations of their own language if they're not completely different. This is the same reason why, even in the United States, as an example, we have completely different cultures, or like subcultures within the United States. You've got like the California that everyone thinks about, right? Like, oh my god, like I'm totally a valley girl from California. But that's not what people think of. You have that culture, you have, industry cultures, and then you go all the way down to like the deep south in the United States. And you're like, hi, my name's Billy Bob from Louisiana. You like some crawdads? Like, so even within a single nation, there, or a single country, or even a single culture, there's subcultures too. So it really kind of, like, you don't necessarily have to go that deep in your world building or your lore building, your culture building, your character design. You don't have to necessarily go that deep into it. As the people say these days, it's not that deep. It's only as deep as you want to go, is what I say. How deep you want to go, that's how deep it is. That's what I like to tell people. And then there's also practicality. For example, this is a good example of that. We've got a character here that looks like some pretty heavy clothing. Like, she's got boots on, she's got pants on, she's got like long sleeves, she's got arm wraps, she's got like a skirt, she's got a vest. Like, it's a tropical island. Why is she wearing so many clothes? Because she's dead. And she has to cover up her body. Otherwise she'll melt. That's why. So even though it's not practical in this particular, or it doesn't initially seem practical, and you don't know this right away about this character, spoiler alert by the way, like, really, like, too late spoiler alert, but because of the situations that this character lives in, because of what their job is, their unique circumstances, they are going to dress differently than the rest of their people do. Also, clothing can be signifiers, they can be insignias, they can be symbols of rank or status. They could be all kinds of things. And so when you're thinking about doing your character designs, you want to be sure that it's very clear what type of character it is, what their personality is, what their ranking or status in society is, what is their culture, what are their personal preferences, their silhouette. You want their silhouette to be very obvious. Like, when you should be able to completely black out a character, and you should still know who that character is. There should be no doubt about it, unless it's intentional. The two characters are similar. Such as I have. I have one situation where I have two characters that are very similar on purpose. You know, there are still ways that are slight differences, but in general, you might have to look twice at the silhouette to know who's who. And that's intentional. Like, there's a set of twins, for example. Twins are a perfect example, where the designs and the silhouettes might be very similar, and you can either choose to make a way to differentiate them, or keep them completely the same. It's up to you. So, there's all sorts of ways to go about character design. Now, I'm going to disclaim that with the fact that I hate character design. I hate drawing characters. They're not fun for me. Which is funny. I make manga. And I don't like drawing characters. Yeah, I don't like character design. It's too stressful. It's boring. I see people every day. Good lord. Why would I want to look at more people? Oh yeah, I love backgrounds. I love drawing rocks. I love drawing environments. I love that stuff. It's so much more fun for me. Because I get to travel. I get to vicariously travel through the environments that I draw. I get to see places I've never seen. Even if it's just from my imagination, I get to be places I'll never get to go because they don't exist. You know, so for me, that's how I see backgrounds. And I don't see them as backgrounds. They're not backgrounds. A background is one part of the equation. So, for example, here's a perfect example. This log that's sitting in front of Hokue is the foreground. This is the foreground. Hokue himself would count as the middle ground. And then there's a plant sitting here behind him that you know, let's pretend there's an imaginary plant sitting here behind him. That plant would be the background. They are environments. They're not backgrounds. Most people tend to think of things only as backgrounds, what's behind the character, and that's not how environments work. They're not just backgrounds. They're foregrounds, they're middle grounds, they're backgrounds, and they can have more layers than that. They could have 5 or 6 different layers. They could have 20 different layers. Depends, again, as I keep saying, how deep do you want to go? So... but yeah, a lot of people tend to just think of them as backgrounds, and then they're really boring. Well, yeah, you're only drawing one of the 3 parts. Of course it's boring. Or they get completely overwhelmed. You know, like drawing a background like this. That's fun for me. Even without the model. Like I did a sketch before I did the model, so I knew what I wanted it to look like. And then I really quickly threw together a rough 3D model so I can have it as a general guide. I love backgrounds. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you some of my previous pages. Whoops. I love drawing backgrounds. Yeah, I like backgrounds. Some bamboos. I like bamboos. Some bamboos. Some rocks, explosions, broken bamboo, like a beach scene here with multiple trees. And then these pages here are crossed out because they're not going to be in the manga anymore. But I'll open one of those pages just so you can see what it originally looked like. Maybe August 26th is the one I need. There we go. I need this one, and I need this one. Yeah. I do, yeah. For example, like, here's some backgrounds, like, a bunch of rocks in a shrine. Okay, cool, done, whatever. Even just this one, which is Aros walking through the door here. He's walking through the door. Like, I put detail into this door. You know, I want it to be believable that there's a door there. And it's not just a slab, it's not just a rectangle shape with some, like, crosses on it to be the wooden panels between the paper or whatever. And then there's this one, this panel, fun. You know, which is, it's a little messy, to say the least. But it's perspective, you know, like it's once you understand how perspective works and how atmosphere works, it gets easier. Here's the same room from another from another perspective, you know, like it's the same room, it's from a different angle. And the other thing to consider about backgrounds is you can choose to draw as much or as little of it as you want. When you're doing backgrounds in manga, especially manga, where you only have two colors to work with, which is black and white, you have to be really careful what you do with, I don't want to say your time, but the amount of space available and the texture that you have available, because you treat a background just like a character, basically, if you want to call it. I'm just going to use background, that's the easier term. You want to use your backgrounds and your environments just like a character. If that provides you more information, then yes, you want to include a background or environment or wherever the case may be. If it doesn't provide any additional information, if it doesn't provide any additional context, like it doesn't provide a mood, it doesn't provide a perspective for like a character that's moved, or the general thought basically is the only time you need to show the background or show the environment is if something has moved positions within the space. So, for example, if a character walks, if a character walks to a different side of the room, then yeah, you need to show the background to give the viewer context that that person moved. Does that make sense? Or if something changes within the environment, like say, there's let's say that maybe a tree fell. Like how is the audience going to know a tree fell if they don't see the tree? That either they don't see it after it fell or see it as it's falling. If that detail is important, that a tree fell, maybe something broke that tree and knocked it down, then yeah, that's important. You need to be able to show that. But you can use that as a character or as a device to manipulate the feelings of your audience to either one, make them feel something. Are they supposed to feel afraid? Are they supposed to feel impressed that this character was so strong that they broke a huge butt tree? Is that important? Yeah, you should show it. And that's what manga is especially really, really good at, is knowing when you have to have a background or environment included and when you don't. The other thing is there's emotional context, which is one of the things that makes comics different from manga. And is what is the emotional context of the situation. For example, this panel right here where you've got this evil bird character talking with this weird skeleton cat and this human character. It's mysterious, it's airy, it's sort of fantastical looking, and so I put a background in there that's magical looking or fantastical looking. It's not a natural looking background, it's unnatural, and so that's why I put that background in there. The reason why I put the background in here is this is a setting. On the previous page, all we see is that, oh, there's a bird here, this evil bird that's talking. Okay, what's the context behind that? Well, they're standing on a beach together. That's the context, so I drew it. Same thing here, they're talking about Hokue. Where is Hokue? Hokue is lurking above this character following him. This background gives context to what these two characters are doing. That's why I showed it. In these two particular cases, where these two are talking and then Rin kind of butts in and interjects, background's not important. There's no context to give. There's nothing to say. So I didn't include anything. Does that make sense? So there's two reasons why you would include a background. Either emotional or what's called a visual grammar, meaning it provides context for the situation. Or if it is logical, is there something that happens that, hey, this needs to be told. So as far as actually drawing the backgrounds themselves, perspective, man, perspective, draw, and observational drawing. Go draw trees, go draw tables, go draw beds, go draw everything you possibly can. Start learning how to take everything apart in your mind and put it back together. A table is nothing but a boatload of rectangles. Also, it's a circular table, and there is a boatload of cylinders. A bed, usually, is a boatload of rectangles. A cat is a bunch of prisms, some cylinders, and some cones. That's what a cat is. A soda can is a bunch of cylinders with a little bit of a cone on both sides. Actually, you could call them rounded trapeziums, prisms, whatever. You know what I mean? So, like, learning how to look at an object and be able to break it apart in your mind and then put it back together, like, break it down into its core basic shapes with none of the detail involved. And then understanding, am I using 1-point perspective? Am I using 2-point perspective? Am I using 3-point perspective? Am I using, like, a cool, like, 4-point perspective or, like, a fisheye lens? And then how do I do that? That sort of thing. That'll really help you with your backgrounds. So... Hey, Kaiju, what's up? Sorry I stopped drawing. I hope that was helpful. I know that was a lot of information, and I'm really sorry. I can't, like, draw and talk at the same time necessarily, so I apologize. Nice. I'm drawing some leaves. An online class for digital art? Nice. You don't need that, just watch me. Just kidding, I don't stream often enough for that. I would need to draw more for that. The other thing that can really help you with your environment is learn when you can be lazy and when you can't be lazy. And when I say lazy, I don't mean lazy, I mean work smarter, not harder, my friends. I don't always work hard, but when I do, I work smarter. So, what do I mean by that? Use brushes to give you head starts. And always remember, if you use a customized brush, you're always allowed to edit it afterwards. Case in point. I have a tree with a log that I have to draw, and I don't want to have to draw the entire damn thing. Okay? I don't want to have to draw every single line. Okay, this page is due tomorrow. Page is due tomorrow. Ain't got time for that. So, what I'm going to do to give myself a head start is I'm going to take this moss brush, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to give myself a bit of a head start. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to put this in here, and kind of just let it, just kind of like throw it in there. It's doing a thing. There we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to duplicate that. And instead of just copying it over like this so that you get the same two shapes in there that looks really gross, bring this part up. That way you get two variations in here. You get the sort of like bottom corner in here. Yeah. No, okay, don't misunderstand me. There are times where you want to hand draw things, and then there are times where you use brushes to give you a head start. Almost never, ever do I use a brush and then never edit it afterwards. I'm always editing afterwards, and I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to cut some of this because I don't need all of this in here. So I'm going to show you what I do. Because if you just do this, it'll look like crap. It won't look very good. It'll be obvious that you used a brush because it will not match your natural line art style. So the style that is used here just doesn't look good. It's obvious that you used a customized brush. So what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to take these customized brushes, take these pre-made images. Like if I have to draw the same thing over and over and over again, I don't want to have to draw the same thing over and over again. Work smarter, not harder, right? There is no shame in using materials like this. Not to say that you're thinking that, I'm just saying that other people will think that because they're buttholes. And because they have like God complexes that think, oh, you're not allowed to do that. So I'll show you what I will do. So now that I have these two, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm actually going to merge these two together. Now I'm going to go in with a brush here, a sort of like a rougher brush. I'm going to turn on this. There we go. So basically I'm erasing, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to mess this up a little bit. I'm going to intentionally blur this a little bit. I'm going to make this not super obvious that I did what I did. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and then I'm going to on a new layer, obviously. I'm going to add in my own details and looking at what they're doing. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to go reline some of it. So there is still work you have to do doing this method. You never just paste it as is. You will still have to come in and do some of the work on your own. If you want it to look like you drew it, you know what I mean? The other alternative would be to take this, draw it, put it low on opacity, and then trace it. That's another option. If you want it to look completely hand-drawn in your own style, that's an option. But what this does is this gives you a base, this gives you something to work from. That way you're not starting from like complete zero or something. You know what I mean? And usually what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll like draw in a bunch of my own lines. Sometimes I'll smooth stuff out. Sometimes I'll add in more detail. Sometimes I can come in and add in multiple custom brushes on top of each other to make it look more varied. So for example, I'm taking some of these lines that they have and I'm adding to them. That way the asset isn't exactly the same. Like it's a little bit different. I varied it up a little bit more. I literally am making this my own, even though like I didn't draw the original asset that I started with. I'm coming in and I'm making it my own. And that's a personal preference. Like you don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to. It's just what I do. Because, like, I care about that. I don't want to ever, like, rip anybody else off. But yeah, you can totally do that if you want. There are so many mangaka that do that all the time. Shinichi, he does the Rosa Versailles. Let me find you that documentary. And he talks about all of the different assets and digital tools that he uses. I think it's on Archipel. what is his name? I always forget what the mangaka's name is. Okay, no, it's not the Rose of Versailles. Okay, it's not. Okay, it's not the Rose of Versailles. Okay, I was wrong. What's that manga? I forget. What's that mangaka's name? I'm gonna find it, guys. I'm gonna find it. I can't let this go now. My brain is not gonna let me let it go. What is his name? I can see his artwork and it's bugging me. Mute this. I'm gonna find it for you guys. It's bugging the hell out of me because, like, this guy is like the perfect example of using. Oh, Shinichi Sakamoto. Okay, I'm so silly. Okay, let me grab the open and new. Oops, I meant link a new tab. I'll grab a link for you guys. Here we go. Okay, here you go. What's the series called? I'm so stupid. I can't believe I forgot. Innocence. Koko no Hito. Koko no Hito. Or Innocence, set in the French Revolution. Shinichi Sakamoto is a mangaka with a unique approach, and we spend time to discover the themes and motivations behind his work. So the Climber, or Ascension, or the Innocent. Yeah, known for his mountain climbing manga, Koko no Hito. So, yep, that's it. Really, really, really super cool documentary because you actually get to see how he does his work, and like how he finds resources and how he finds inspiration. I really think Kekodes, I really think you would really like that documentary because he does talk about his world building and his lore and how he gets accurate and those kinds of things. So I think you'd like that. Yeah, definitely. I think you'll like it. Yeah, it is pretty awesome. Do 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 do. I like hatching. Hatching is fun. Yeah. Don't know how I did, but I did the thing. Yeah, like always feel free to give me questions. Like I don't mind stopping and like answering them. That's why I like streaming. Is I get to like actually talk to people and help them if I know something. The other thing that's really fun is like I said earlier, is to like lay down like multiple to like texture brushes and stuff. Plants. This one's always so annoying. This isn't a song that I like that much. All the emotional songs are up next. Let's go to something more chill. And see, by bringing in like white in here, you're kind of like breaking up these shapes a bit, so they're not so like boring looking. There's like no like solid way you have to do it, so just come in and have fun with it. There's like no right or wrong way to do this, really. I don't think. At least I don't think so. Maybe other people disagree with me. That's not like I'm a pro or anything. You gotta experiment a bit before you find the thing you like. Let's see. Let's try fleurs. Fleurs. I thought I had like some cool moss brushes. Guess not. But, oh, here they are. Duh. I found them. I was gonna say, I know I got these. As well, kind of smooth out some of those lines. Hmm. Hmm. Hey, okay, cool. Thank you for stopping by. Have a really good night. Take it easy. Feel free to stop in here whenever. I always appreciate it. Have a good night. There. And see, now it looks more unique than it did before. Here's all the stuff we added to it. You see, like, that was where I originally started with, and all I did was add in some hatching and some other lines, and, like, it looks way more unique than before. So, it didn't take that long to add. Only took maybe about 15 minutes, but it looks way better, I think. And so now basically I'm going to do the same thing, but I need to, like, account for, like, the log that I have here. So I'm basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab my handy dandy moss brush here. Now the thing you have to notice that the moss went up. So I need to be sure that I keep that pattern here. So I'm going to start it that way. I'm going to transform it. And what I'll be able to do is sort of like, so I started it that way. Kind of looks really naughty, doesn't it? This is where you have to get a little creative sometimes. What I might do is take the this old version and rotate it just a little bit so that it fits the angle of the new of what's supposed to be like the log that he's sitting under here. Whoopsie. Cancel. It's finishing transforming. Give it 1 second. Oh, an hour and a half's almost up. It's time for. Come on. It's still transforming. Give it a sec. Dun, dun, there it goes. Alright, so now I'm going to take this. I'm going to push it over a little bit more. And then I'm going to grab a... Oops, just turned my screen off. Okay, I'm going to grab a mask layer. I'm going to go in... Of course it's going to auto-save right after I do that. There it goes. Okay. Grab this awesome hatching tool. I'm going to go in and get rid of this. Kind of blend it in. Oh, I'm going to have to bring this down a little bit. Alright. There's a reason I put leaves in the corner here, is to help me hide the seams. Work smarter, not harder, fools. And the other thing is there'll be lots of ivy over here too, so that'll kind of help hide that as well. Get rid of that. And ultimately this will be underneath, but I need to be able to like draw the whole thing. Now I see I need to extend it a bit. Coco is such a creeper. He's like, I love Coco, he's so funny. Alright, if you really want to be extra, you can come in, you can like erase just little bits of stuff. Like really blend it in well. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in like some of the more detailed stuff. You can see I've got some ivy in here. I'm going to put that in. That way I know where I don't want to detail. Because if I go in and I detail too much, and then I just end up covering it up with like some foliage anyway, then I wasted my time, right? So, I know I've got some ivy in here. I'm going to take advantage of. Maybe. That is, there we go. And again, this doesn't look like my own drawing, so I'm gonna have to go in and like clean it up a little bit so that it looks more like me. Looks more like I drew it. And I guess technically you don't have to do that. It's just something that I do because I'm like subconscious about it. The other thing is we want to be sure that there's ivy on both sides of this. That way it looks deeper. And so what I'm going to do is this. I'm actually going to add a screen tone to it to kind of push it back into the background a bit. It also gives really cool contrast. When I add the stuff that's on top of it. Oops. As long as it's not the same shape. See what I mean? And if you really want to be extra, you can like vary it up a bit more. Want to be like super extra. This brush here, I have two brushes I use with ivy. One is like a group brush that has like the vines attached to it. This other one, I can just float on top. And what's really neat about it is I can just like put it on top of the ivy that already exists. And I'll vary it up a little bit so that it doesn't necessarily look like it's the same brush every single time. Makes it look a little bit more varied up and unique. So... It's not a perfect system. But it definitely like works to like make stuff look a bit better and get like those like perfect placements sometimes. Like this one right here, like this is really nice, except I wish I had like something extending, right? Like cool, so I was just able to draw that in on my own, and like that looks kind of nice, but that's kind of awkward there. I want something there to hide that, so I can just grab my brush again and just like throw that that on top. Maybe. There we go, and we're good. The magic of custom brushes. And again, like these aren't perfect either. You might want to go in and like add in some like hand-drawn lines on top of them, make them a little bit more varied. It's up to you, honestly, what you feel you want to do. Or what you feel is like necessary. And that's the thing, it all depends on what you feel is necessary to make sure it looks good. That's ultimately what the plan is. So, because I want this background to spread out through all of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all this in a folder. Oh, it's supposed to go in here too. I'm going to put this underneath these two frames. And then I'll have to put on a mask. And like manually cut it myself, basically. There, and so now you have a, and this isn't completely finished, but you have a background that loosely looks like it was all drawn in one panel because it was. And then it was just using a mask, cutting it into two panels. So. And I'll have to do the same thing here because this panel down here is going to split this image here is going to split 3 separate panels. So yeah, that'll be fun. When I get to draw that, that'll be loads of fun. So, and these 3D models are in here just to help me get the perspective down. And then I actually have like a drawing of what this place that's in here actually looks like. It's right here. So these are more like just placeholders for like what it actually looks like. Which I'll bring in here so you can see it. It's like a sort of like little temple-y shrine with like a circle door. And it's got like various seals placed all over the walls, and it's got like some jars on the floor on the outside, and it's got all kinds of cool stuff to it. So all of that I'll get to draw a couple times. So, but on the next page, my goal is to get this page done tonight, and then I'll worry about the other pages over the weekend. So with that said, I've just hit my 1.5-hour time frame. Thank you all so much for coming to the stream. I super duper appreciate it. Thank you, those of you who dropped by. And thank you those who gave me likes. I always appreciate it. Likes kind of always help the channel. It helps me. It helps the channel grow. It helps it get promoted a bit more. I'm sorry the stream was so short. I'm sorry I didn't draw as much. But hopefully kind of seeing how I can take a panel and kind of start getting that put together. I do have to get this page done tonight, fortunately. So I'm just gonna head off here. I'm gonna keep working in what I call quiet mode, where I turn on some music and I get to work. So thank you all so much for stopping by. I super duper appreciate it. Thank you so much to my members who are helping support me and support the channel, and you know, someday hopefully will support me to be a full-time mangaka. That would be super duper awesome. I will post more links to you guys tomorrow for the new page once it's all finished. And then I will also be posting my rewards to my current YouTube members. My October rewards will be going out tomorrow. I would have got them out last week, but I had some emergency work I had to do for a publisher, so I apologize, but they will be going out tomorrow. yeah, have a good night, everyone, and thank you so much. I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. I may have some family obligations, but I will definitely try my best to stream tomorrow. And if I don't stream tomorrow, I will definitely be streaming on Saturday. So thank you, English. Thanks again, everyone, for coming, and have a wonderful night. It's always fun streaming, and I love getting to people. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.